Another game that was winnable for the Minnesota Wild if you simply keep it in 5-on-5 play, and the Wild could not. 3-1 loss to the St. Louis Blues. Not a lot to pull from this one, but we will talk Mason Shaw's return. We'll talk Marcus Johansson and Freddie Gaudreau both getting hurt, as well as looking ahead to tomorrow's game against the San Jose Sharks. All that coming up on tonight's Locked On Wild postcast. The doctor will see you now.
You are Locked On Wild Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Minnesota Wild fall by a score of 3-1 to the St. Louis Blues. And honestly, this is another thing that we have seen quite a bit from this team, that the effort, like if they can just keep it in 5-on-5, they probably win this game. But just so many penalties, and 7 times that the Wild went to the box here in this one tonight, and it cost them. St. Louis scored once, and so on one hand, there is the side that says, well, hey, your penalty kill played pretty good, 6 out of 7. But then my thing is, why do you go to the box 7 times? Is it easier to fix the penalty kill, or is it easier to just stop taking penalties? So that was a huge part of this game. The Wilds were handling their business up until the point at which they started to just go to the box over and over and over and over again. And it's a common refrain. Absolutely must win games. And you just, one thing or another, just can't get it done. And the other thing that I thought was oddly noticeable in this game today is, and I know that it's weird to see this on the front ends of a back-to-back, it is just the Wild just did not look like they were skating at the same speed as the St. Louis Blues in this one. Now, you were put in an odd situation early on in the game and before the game. And then it was mentioned during the game, something else that kind of struck me is you have Freddie Gaudreau, who gets injured, I'm assuming during practice yesterday, upper body injury, not able to play. John Hines after the game asking about the status of Gaudreau, said he's not going to be available for tomorrow's game. Marcus Johansson got hurt, and Hines after the game said he had no update, which means it's probably not good on that front. So you're probably going 11-7 at the unless you can get somebody to Minnesota for tomorrow's game. But you know, we didn't learn anything new in this one tonight. The same script just played out as has for a large majority of the season. A ton of penalties, ton of shots that missed the net. How about that too? The Wild had 43 shot attempts in this game. They missed the net 21 times. And not only missing the net 21 times, but not being able to take advantage of shots in close, not being able to knock in backhand opportunities or backdoor opportunities. All of these little things have been there all season, and they just continue to show up when you absolutely can't afford to have them show up. Marc-Andre Fleury was great tonight, but you for an offense that if we're going letter grades for tonight's performance, I thought the offense did plenty. I thought the offense generated enough to be able to score tonight, but you have to find a way to finish some of those opportunities. So, it's back to feeling like we're in Groundhog Day, where you wake up and the same day, it's like the same game is playing every day. And, if you are going to continue this fight like hell to try to get into the postseason, like, you can't lose these games. So there are a lot of things that drag this team down. And just continue to point to the consensus that a lot of us have been on for a long time, is that it's just not their year this year. This is not a team that this just does not look like a playoff team for the large majority of this season. It just has not looked like it. You got Mason Shaw, who came in tonight's game, and it felt like that could be kind of a rallying point for this Wild team. Like, hey, our guy, Mason Shaw, is back in, and let's rally around him. Let's go get a victory, because Mason Shaw had an impact in tonight's game. I know he didn't play a ton, but he had an impact. It's just, I don't know. I don't really know how to, I don't really know how to dissect a game like this, because we have seen these things carried out almost in perpetuity as Wild fans this year. It's just some variation of the same things. You essentially no-show against the Nashville Predators, and the effort is better tonight, but you can't score. Like, it's just, we just continue to see the same things over and over and over and over this season. So we've been out on this show for the playoffs. We've been out, but even those that are still in on it, you got to see the fact that this team now is 10 points out, because guess what? Nashville went and beat Colorado tonight. So now you're 10 points out with 21 games to play. There is not one single thing that you can, there's just not one single thing that you can point to about this team that screams, this is a team that has postseason aspirations. So I don't know what to tell you. There are obviously some things that, were notable that we'll continue to talk about, and we want to get your comments too. But the other thing that's concerning is it was just kind of a throwaway tweet by Michael Russo today, is that now you've got Brock Faber playing through an injury. And this was not something that had popped up until before yesterday's game, when it was that Rossi, or that Faber was going to hope to play, but was not at practice. So now what is he dealing with? It's just like, we got a quarter of the season left to just start to try to put together what are we following the rest of the season? So a 3-1 loss. We will continue to break things down. And actually, I'm going to make a call to the bullpen here to help us do a little bit of that. Let me do this. There we go. Jay Homuth is joining us to discuss what is continuing to trend towards a lost season. Jay, what did you think of that 3-1 loss for the Minnesota Wild?
First off, just want to say, what's up? It's been a while. Second, I don't know. I was kind of watching it, and I was just, I don't know. It's you've gotten the same sense the last couple games. I mean, they beat Seattle last weekend, and everyone's riding high. And then I think that Carolina game. I remember I live on the East Coast now. We've talked about that. I couldn't finish the rest of the game, so I had to go to sleep due to practice in the morning. But when I woke up, I checked the score, and I was just like, you needed that one. And then you needed Thursday, and then today. They definitely played way better today, though, than they did on Thursday, minus having 7 penalties and like 4 or 5 tripping minors, I think. But I don't know. It's when you're a team, when you got to chase, it makes it so much hard. And I just think that Minnesota Wild fans, myself included, are so used to being in the playoffs that when you do have a down year, it just feels like nothing's going right. But this was the dagger. That's what I think from this game. This was the dagger.
Thank you. I think we officially said yesterday was not yesterday, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm running on fumes right now. So we're gonna grind it out. But the game against Nashville on Thursday, that was the official dagger. We've been calling time of death on this season for a long time. You're on Locked On Wild, but 10 points out with 21 games to play.
Yeah.
How do you make that up in that short of a time frame? Because you have to not only play well yourselves, but you have to hope that everybody in front of you doesn't.
And it just so happens to be that the team you're chasing is on an 8-game win streak. So they're not slowing down anytime soon. But yeah, like you said, personally, I think I still had a little bit of hope. Like, I was excited for this game today. I think they showed us the dagger on Thursday, but they used it tonight. I was like, I don't know. Cause hey, Jon Merrill scored, and we've talked. I was a big Jon Merrill guy a couple of years ago. I love Jon Merrill. I think his first season here. I was looking back at the numbers when I tweeted about his 2-4-1 stat, but 2-5-1 now. I don't know. When he scored, it wasn't one of those goals where you're like, watching the Vancouver game a couple weeks ago, when Zuccarello scored to make it 5-4, you almost knew that
you could
we're gonna score again. We're gonna score again. When Merrill scored, it was almost like we weren't supposed to score and it was an accident. It was like, oh damn, we scored. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I act very different when they're not doing as good. I like to try to be really professional when they're winning, really into the stats, but when they're losing, it just hits me in the heart.
Nobody it's not, and these are the types of games that just, I don't know, I'll just say it again. The Wild did a good job of generating chances, but so many of them are just wildly inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
Shots that, and in close too. How many times did they have the backdoor tap in and they're just not going in? You have to bury those.
Kaprizov missed one. It was second or third period, but you could even see it on him. He just looked up and it was a great feed. I think it was from, I don't know, I don't remember who it was from, but I know it was Kaprizov who missed it. But like Fleury played great, I think. I think he played pretty well. It's just, I don't know, you can't score. I think they're 0-8 on the power play the last 3 games. They've only scored 4 goals in the last 3 games. And you could say these last 3 games, like, if you wanted to make the playoffs, if you wanted to keep Duhaime around, if you wanted to keep Dewar around, and I know they just said they're not trading Fleury, but that was 3 games ago. If you wanted to keep Fleury around, I don't know. Because you look at it last week, Fleury came out on Monday and said, "This is my team. We're 2 points out of playoff spot. We're in the thick of it. Like, let's go." 5 days has passed, and now you're 10 points out of it, and you're not making the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fleury was out now.
This feeling right now, regardless of what happens against the Sharks tomorrow, it feels like the vibe of the team after the game, and that was something that Kevin Gord pointed out in the post game, feels like a team that knows that this 2-game stretch and not being able to win either of these games has pushed them to selling at the deadline.
Yeah,
like it was 100%. Pretty lifeless after the game. Duhaime looked pretty defeated after the game in his post game interview with Gorg. It feels like the team knew that unless they won these 2 games, that you're going to be selling what you can at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I was watching Wild post game before I hopped on here, and like Hines just seemed out of it. Russo even said something to him. He said they're bummed in there, and you even seem bummed yourself. Like he was out of it. I remember they had like you said, they had Duhaime up there after, just no energy. Just it was like almost like it was like his going away party. But if it was, I think he played great today. And I know that the trade deadline's approaching, so I know that there were GMs or scouts in attendance for this game. And it may have been the third. I think it was the third. Duhaime had a sequence where I think he had possession of the puck for about 11 seconds coast to coast. And like, it just looked like if I was another NHL GM, it was like, I'm making that call tomorrow. Like I was watching it and I was like, that's a playoff. Like, I mean, you're the president of the Duhaime club. Like, you know that, but like, I was watching that and all I could think about was, damn, we're losing him. Like he's gone. Like there's so I don't know. And then Dewar, I could see them moving him for late round pick. I don't know, so whatever you could get for him. I wish that we could trade Frederick Gaudreau and Jon Merrill, but no one's going to take that. Same way that, I don't know if this was kind of weird. This is not Minnesota Wild related, but Evgeny Kuznetsov on waivers, that was a crazy statement to see on Twitter today. And he has an $8 million cap hit, so no one's going to pick him up. But just, I think selling what you can, and we can't sell a bunch of the players that we signed to extensions last year, which didn't pan out. So, and I also knew that like Gaudreau didn't play today, but once Dean was gone, I had a feeling that Gaudreau was just going to shoot down, because if you look at Gaudreau's numbers, he was only productive in times where he was with Dean. It's kind of weird, but I don't know. It's a bum season, and I don't know.
It has been just a marathon of a season, and like I think the vibe extends to everybody. That this felt like the end of the line, and the thing too. And we'll get to the comments here in just a second. I just wanted to kind of go long form here since there was no episode yesterday, and since I was busy doing stuff all day today before this game. There are some crazy asks for particular players for trade deadline cost to acquire. Matt Dumba. Apparently the Coyotes are asking for a first-round pick. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying the Wild will get a Tanner Jeannot haul for Brandon Duhaime, but I also wouldn't rule it out. So
I would not be surprised if they were able to even get a second for. I could see them getting a second round pick, just Duhaime for a second, or
that'd be amazing.
I don't think we're going to get no first round pick for him, but I could see. No. But I mean, nowadays, like you said with the Matt Dumba thing, like a first round pick, like I think teams are understanding that what Tampa Bay did in their little run was, if you're in a win now mode, you can use that first round pick's going to do nothing for you, really, because you're going to get, it's basically a round 2 pick. So
yeah,
trading away a first round pick is the same as trading away a second round pick. And teams, like, the first round pick is eye candy to a lot of teams. So like that Jeannot trade, Nashville wanted that first round pick, and Tampa needed that playoff player, so they were just, take it. We get the player and you get the pick, and they win the Stanley Cup, and now Tampa picks 32nd, or Nashville picks 32nd. So I think, like Edmonton, I saw on Twitter that they were very freely dangling around their first round pick this year. And I just think that a lot of the contending teams are going to use their first round pick because it really has no value once you get into that 28 through 32 spot. So
yeah. Let's break. Let's get to the comments here, because there are a lot of good ones, and we'll talk about Marco Rossi's game. We'll talk about the players that should go at the deadline, and if you don't get a ton, at least you free up some spots. That's the key thing, is you free up some roster spots, get a little clarity as to this bottom 6 that is just
who's it beat up.
Yes, we'll talk about all of that as we continue tonight's Locked On Wild postcast. Minnesota Wild fall by a score of 3-1 to the St. Louis Blues. It's over. Playoff push is officially dead this weekend. We will talk more about that as we continue tonight's Locked On Wild postcast after this. Tonight's Locked On Wild postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot today. Hopefully you did not pick the Minnesota Wild to beat St. Louis tonight. If you picked the Blues to cover, your $5 bet is a winner, and now you can enjoy your bonus bets with whoever. Kalen Addison for the San Jose Sharks tomorrow. Maybe he scores. Maybe Capo Kakinen records a shutout. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. There are tons of options for you to cash in big with FanDuel. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Check it out today. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Tonight's Locked On Wild postcast is also brought to you by Game Time. Folks, the weather continues to be absolutely sensational here in Minnesota, which means that we are getting closer to summer concert season. Minnesota Twins will be getting their season started here relatively soon, too. And Game Time gives you the opportunity to find great deals on same-day tickets. You can see your seat view from every seat in the venue that you're headed to, which is another great feature that Game Time offers, as well as flash deals on tickets. And they don't hit you with those hidden fees at checkout. All of those are great reasons to check out Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Minnesota Wild lose by a score of 3-1 to the St. Louis Blues. And our Locked On Wild postcast continues. So we've got Jay Homuth with us to kind of take us through the rest of tonight's postcast. Let's go to the comments here, and I want to get to one right off the bat because I got to find it, of course. Folks, I am too trying to now get accustomed to having two different monitors in addition to my laptop. It's an outrageous setup, but it is one that is absolutely necessary for these shows. Why did Hines challenge? It didn't matter, but what a moron. I found it interesting, too, because Russo tweeted about this. Somebody on the whoever's in charge of looking at the replays thought
the video
that they
coaches,
thought that they saw Jake Neighbors make contact with Marc-Andre Fleury. So they said, hey, you got to challenge this. I didn't see anything in particular. That was not a great challenge. Like, holy cow.
No, the way that like they said on the broadcast, this was the first challenge that we lost this year. Every time that we challenge the play, you hear Anthony say, looks like Minnesota's going to challenge it, right? Then they show the replay and you go, oh yeah, that's not a goal. So tonight happens and I watch the replay and I'm like, do you just want to give the PK another shot at it? Like, I don't know. I didn't understand. That was my idea of a tweet. I had it typed up and I was like, no. And then I just tweeted that it was a horrible challenge. And then I saw your tweet saying giving the PK another chance. And I was laughing at that. But
yep.
I do not understand why he even, I mean, that's the head coach too. He makes the calls. I feel like there's no way that the video coach said, yeah, you got to challenge this. And then he never saw an angle of it at all. Like, I feel like there'd be communication behind the bench saying, hey, I think he touched the goalie. And then Hines would do his part to look and be like, you know what, he did, and then make the challenge. Because I don't know what the point of the challenge was. It just, I don't know. I was watching it and I was wondering, like, I don't know, like the same that I don't get it. I don't understand what the challenge is for.
And it's one of those things too, where it's like, I feel like you don't, unless it's something absolutely clear cut. Like if it's a 50-50 thing, or just like one of those real minute type plays, just let it go. Just be worried, be more focused on trying to make the comeback than like, well, we gave up a goal. Now we got to we have a better opportunity trying to take it off the board than we do simply trying to retie the score. Like,
I think it's definitely easier to win a game or tie up a game when you have momentum and you're only down one than making a dumb decision and then going down two, because I feel like a lot of coaches don't remember the rule when they make some challenges, not just the Wild, but I've seen it across the NFL or NHL, sorry, football mode. I've seen it across the NHL a lot that coaches will just throw out a challenge, forgetting that penalty's coming if it's wrong for a delay game. So I don't know. Also thought this was kind of funny that the San Jose Wild are coming into town tomorrow with Mikhail Granlund, Luke Kunin, Nico Sturm, Kalen Addison, Capo Kakinen, just all of the used-to-be's on one team.
And I have official intel from Locked On Sharks. It was early in the week. I got a message from JD saying that unfortunately Capo was not going to be starting against the Wilds. Turns out that has changed. Capo Kakinen will be in net for the San Jose Sharks tomorrow. So can you say shutout for the San Jose Sharks?
Here's my prediction right now, on the record. Granlund scores, Kunin scores, Addison scores at probably like 2. Sturm scores.
Jeepers.
And we lose 5-0. That's going to be just a Wild homecoming. That's a joke, by the way.
that would be a yikes if that actually happens.
Twitter would be fun.
Twitter will be, if that's how that plays out, Twitter and the postcast will be a lot of fun. Here's a great spin on tonight's game. Great showcase for the Deweys, because, again, it's seeming more and more likely that this is now a team that is selling. So a good showcase for both Deweys. And I'm even going to bring this onto a different screen because they all just seamlessly act as one. Let's see where we're at in the old Tankathon. Minnesota Wild are back up at 8th in the Tankathon. Let me try to sim this once. We stayed at 8. Well, at least back in the top 10. And it's not that, it's not that Judd Brackett is not capable of making picks, because he clearly is. He clearly is capable of making good picks in the 20s. It's just the talent level in the top 10, especially in an area which I think you definitely need defensemen. You definitely need a defenseman this year, I think.
Yeah.
There are going to be some good ones at the top of this draft. So I feel like it's a good opportunity to get one.
Plenty of forward depth. We have a lot in the system coming up. We got Height, Ogren. We got Ustadinov coming hopefully next week or the next week at the latest. Urov. We got more than enough we need there. So I think going for a defenseman is a must. We got Wallstedt waiting down in Iowa.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing to say about Gustafson. I don't. I thought of something nice, but I can't even.
It's been a bit of a rocky year for Philip Gustafson, to say the least. Boldy on the power play feels like he consistently misses his one-timers. Faber also has to work on his shots from the point. I think collectively the team has to work on shooting a lot, because, again, we saw it tonight, but it's not unique to tonight that these shooting woes for the Minnesota Wild. Like, I'm going to see if I can find it here, because the Wild are like one of the top teams in the entire league in terms of shots that miss the net, which is not great. Not great. So then if let's say you have 100 shot attempts. If 30%, which was the last number that I saw, percentage of unblocked shot attempts that miss the net. The Minnesota Wild are currently 6th in the NHL in shots that miss the net at 31.99%. So a third of the shots that you take are missing the net. Carolina's first, then Arizona, then Vancouver, then the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then Washington. All those teams are at 32% or above. And it's not only those, it's because there are quite a few shots that come from like the top of the zone, but it's the shots in close too. Like, it's like, as a golfer, if you miss a birdie tap in, practice your putting so that you don't miss it again.
I was just about to say, if like everyone goes golfing, you got the one friend who's like a 4-putter, 5-putter, that's the Minnesota Wild.
It's stuff that I feel like should be non-negotiable, and it's the shooting, but then it's also just the undisciplined play. How many there were 4 tripping penalties tonight?
4 tripping minors, and just seven penalties in total. Like, you should not be having, when you're down one goal with about 4 minutes left in a game that you have to win to keep your season alive. What are you doing getting a too many men on the ice call?
Yeah, that one put me through the roof. Like
that was like, when I saw that, because we didn't, like, I'm not in St. Louis, I'm watching the game. So they didn't say that before the commercial. We came back from commercial and just said too many men. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I don't know. But Minnesota Wild.
Like, what do you say? What?
It's hard to find things to say when, like, and another thing too with the power play issues is the amount of passes that they force.
Yeah.
Like I saw Middleton 3 times tonight try to pass it all the way across the ice through 4 penalty killers to Kaprizov. And a couple of them got through, but they're bad passes because you can't put it where you want it to be. So Kaprizov can't settle it, bounces
Yeah.
off the boards right to a defenseman, cleared. Like and then 0 for 8 in the power play in 3 games that you need to win is not okay. And I don't know.
This team is far too selective with shot attempts. And, the one, now, honestly, I kind of got a little bit of a laugh out of this. The Wild on one of their power plays actually had a 3-on-2 opportunity. Zach Bogosian had the puck, but then he tried to go between the legs to pass it.
Oh,
Ended up not being able to do that, and the Wild did not get a shot attempt off when they had a 3-on-2 shorthanded. Those types of things happen far too often too, where you try to do way more than you should, and you end up getting burned there too.
funny story. I was on the phone with my dad when that happened, and my jaw just dropped, and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Zach Bogosian just tried to go between his legs, and he was shorthanded in the offensive zone." And he was like, "What?"
Oh, yeah, it's not great. I did want to talk about this as I get caught up. The guys that should be traded at the deadline. Duhaime, Maroon, Bogosian, Fleury, Merrill, Goligoski, Johansson, and Gaudreau. So let's talk about the ones that we think will be traded. Dewar and Duhaime, I think definitely will.
They will. Dewar's not even on here. I'm looking at it, but yeah, Dewar will be traded. Duhaime will be traded. You can't trade Freddie, JoJo, Goligoski.
Yeah.
I don't think you can trade Bogosian.
As much as we would like to, Goligoski can't unless he waives his no trade, and he does not seem inclined to do so. Even when he's not playing, he doesn't seem inclined to do so.
He loves a free ticket to the game. He just sitting up top. That's
the food up in the press box is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And but yeah, so Duhaime and Dewar and possibly Fleury after these last 3 games. But Maroon's hurt right now. I don't think that any team's going to really want to take a like last year when the Wild acquired Nyquist at the deadline while he was hurt. That's a player that you can look at and say, okay, when he comes back, he'll make an impact for us. But I don't think Maroon's that type of player. He's a good playoff style player, but I don't think he's the type of player where you can use draft capital and risk he comes back, because Maroon's not a guaranteed middle 6 guy on any team that's going to be in the playoffs. So I don't think that you do that with him. Again, Zach Bogosian, I don't think he's moving. But yeah, I think the main 3 names are just the Dewey brothers and Fleury. I don't, because you can't trade JoJo, Freddie. Those you can't. No one's going to take on Freddie's contract. You'd have to retain 80% of it if you want to be rid of him. That's Guerin's mess that he gets to deal with in the off season. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me, just with how far things have fallen. It would not shock me if there's maybe an attempt to move Freddie Gaudreau in the off season. I'm just throwing that out there because his role here has fallen off completely since Dean Evison was fired. Like he finally got back to being on the penalty kill, but he's not the go-to center anymore for faceoffs. He is this team doesn't go to shootouts, so that's another part that he just excelled at that he's no longer being utilized in, because you don't go to shootouts. So it wouldn't shock me if they try to at least move one, because with the way that this season is gone,
even with the fact that there are similar parameters in terms of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter's cap hits, Craig Leopold is not going to accept running it back. I as much as Bill Guerin would probably like to, Craig Leopold's not going to accept that. So there are going to be some things that are done. And, it's one thing to go from last year to this year with mostly the same team because you were a playoff team and you said, all right, let's do that again. But when you miss the playoffs and that is your goal, which very, very evidently is the goal for this team, is to get to the postseason. Mm-hmm. If you miss your goal, you make some changes. So wouldn't surprise me if that is attempted. How do you feel about doing a live feed for the game tomorrow? Mike, I am looking at doing one. I don't know if I'm able to do a feed. I'll have to look into it. I don't know if I'm able to do one from the X during the game, just with everything that's going on. Road games, though, absolutely, because I'm not up in the press box. I'm hoping to either Thursday or Friday do one, since they're both late games. I would love to be able to do one during the Friday game. It just depends on my day work schedule, because we're right in high school playoff season right now, and I might have games Thursday or Friday. But stay tuned, because I do want to go back like we did for the Sweden games. I do want to do those again, because that was outrageously fun. And we will at some point soon. What else is going on in the comments here?
Just a lot of Freddie Gaudreau talk.
Yeah,
I'm laughing at it.
to be fair, it's things have gone very wrong with
I like the comment that says you need multiple stars or prime Carey Price to get a cup. I just think it's funny because Carey Price never won a Stanley Cup.
You got to just have a goalie to go on a run, and the Wild don't have the goalies right now to go on a run. Or
anybody could get hot though. Adin Hill.
Oh,
Adin Hill.
That's right. John, I'm going to talk about where I'll look through the Tankathon stats and kind of see where we're at in relation to the other. But I want to get to this. How about the goal by Johnny Vibes? I had people. This is how far the Jon Merrill bit has gone. I had like 8 people tweet at me when Merrill scored, and we're like, wellness check. Somebody check on Seth. Make sure he's doing okay. It's funny too, because like credit to Merrill for picking up that loose puck in the middle of the zone. And just throwing it on net. I don't think he expected that to go in. He just threw it on net, and Jordan Binnington just did not get a good read on it, and it ended up going in. But it's when you have more of those types of goals than you have like actual, I don't know, skill players scoring, that's a problem. And look, like the top line, Boldy, Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, like they're still generating chances. They just now are not scoring the goals here over the last few games. And if those guys aren't going, if the top 3 aren't going, it's a tough road you're hoeing. I can't believe that I just put that rhyme together. Like, it's so bad, but it's true. Tankathon. So the Wild are currently 7 points ahead of Montreal for number 7. They are tied with Buffalo, but Buffalo has won 2 games in a row. And then Ottawa has 53 goals, 53 points. So the Wild are 9 ahead of them. Columbus has 48. So there is a sizable gap between Columbus and Minnesota. But I think the thing that needs to happen, like, give yourself a little separation between Buffalo and the Wild. Like, if you could, I just saw Bob's comment.
I'm reading these comments. That's why I keep smiling. These are funny.
Hey, though, Vancouver, Thomas Drance of The Athletic labeled Jon Merrill as a surefire defensive defenseman. If Vancouver feels that way,
take him.
Go right ahead. You can have him. You know what's going to end up happening tomorrow? Because Johansson is hurt, he won't be available. The Wild won't be able to call anybody up. So we're going to get 11-7, which means that Merrill and Goligoski are both going to be in the game together.
Hopefully they're together on the same pair.
Again, we're definitely losing to the Sharks tomorrow.
Have faith.
Like, I'm going to get my insomnia cookies before the game because I know that was kind of my, hey, let's do this after wins bit. I'm going to get the insomnia cookies before the game and eat them on my way in, knowing that will be the sweetest thing that I see for the entirety of the game.
Oh, they said Rempe and Reeves just fought in the chat. I wanted to see that. I was hoping they did that.
Reeves was asking for it. He
yeah,
by the way,
earlier,
how about that? What has he fought, like 6 times in his first 7 games?
So I had to start. So he's what, 6'7", 240?
Yeah.
So I'm 6'6", 240, right? So I'm looking at him just going in, and we're not too far in age either. So I'm looking at him just going in there and just fighting all these grown men, and I was like, "What are you doing, bro? Like, what are you like? You can have a tough guy act, but like, I think his last fight against Oliver, that's when you got to be done. Like, you can't like you could be tall and big, but it doesn't mean you can fight." I was like, he has reached, but I don't know. That was just a weird little. I don't know. That was weird.
I am not 6'7", but if we see another like Middleton fight, like the one that he had against Nashville, like, oh man,
he was so bad. He was so mad. He had blood on his. He
destroyed that dude. Just annihilated him. What would it take to get Snuggerud from St. Louis? It would take them being willing to move him, I think, is the
no. Everyone's willing to move everybody. Money talks. So I think what it would take is probably it's prospect for prospect. It has to be, but it's gonna be more than that. But they will probably want height, a first, and a role player, like a bottom 6.
Can I interest you in a slightly used Jon Merrill?
And not that. It'd have to be like Ryan Hartman and first and height. Jeez. I think so. Because that's a future franchise player in their eyes. So if you want him, then you're gonna have to really want him.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay the price. I'm hoping we avoid this tomorrow. You're not gonna hear this here. Like you cling, you scrape by to beat the San Jose Sharks, and it goes right back into like, hey, now we just got to win another. Like, beating the Sharks doesn't do anything because it's a game that you are expected to win. And you just have had too many, but then again, you can't even say expected to win per se, because guess what?
We're not in that position though anymore to be expected to win.
You had a game against the Anaheim Ducks you were expected to win, and that did not go well either. So I don't know. It has been just a roller coaster of a season, but I wanted to talk about, like, here are some things. Here are some things as we move through the rest of the season to look at, greater good stuff, because greater good is back. We're back on that train. We kind of put it on the back burner for a little bit, but we're back on the greater good. So for the rest of the season, I would like to see continued development from Rossi, Faber, Chisholm. Chisholm had but again, it's not even just him per se. Like, I still think he has. I haven't soured on him or anything. He's had a couple of games where there have been some moments where you're like, yeah, but I still want to see him continue to play. So those three, get Murat on the ice, get him.
Say the last name. Don't be scared.
Who's Nadinov?
There you go. I'm trying to learn the last name.
I have spent more time pronouncing that last name than any other at any point in any sport. Who's Nadinov? I just like Murat because it rolls off the tongue better. So get him some playing time. Let's see Mason Shaw continue to get back in, get himself back, because that's a guy that likely is going to be playing a fourth line role for you next year. So continue to get him back on track. And, beyond that, like, let's just see continued excellence from the top level guys. Beyond that, like, I'm good with the I'm good with just seeing the same old things all season. Like, let's see 16 more minutes from Marcus Johansson. Nah, I'm good. Let's see Freddie Gaudreau play let's see Marcus Johansson play on the second line. No, I'm okay. I don't need to see that anymore. Let's see Freddie Gaudreau play in the bottom six. Nah, I'm all right. Let's get some clarity on that bottom six and try to find something that works. Like, it's just a collection of guys at this point. I told somebody on Twitter, I said, it's that box you have if you're somebody who puts puzzles together. It's the box you have with all the extra pieces that you don't know where they go, but they go somewhere. So you just hang on to them in the event that maybe you figure it out. But
I'd probably say it's more like if you go to the thrift store and you find a random puzzle box with pieces to multiple puzzles that don't go together at all. That's what I envision the bottom six right now, because I'm sitting here watching these games thinking, man, we should buy out Gaudreau and just see if Height can make the team next fall. Like, I don't, like, there's no, like, I don't see no spark. Like, whatever we saw Johansson doing last April, he like, when I think of him coming back to the Wild, I think of that goal he had in Game 3 against the Stars, where I forgot what defenseman it was, but he took him for a walk, just dangled him, scored, and I was like, wow, like, he's really just finding himself again. And then Gaudreau, like, I know he was the shootout master, but he still had, I forgot, if he didn't have 20 goals last year, he was up there. He was close.
He had 19.
Yeah, like, he was right there. And I don't see it anymore. And, like, as, like, Duhaime's like definitely trade bait, but even he's had a bad year compared to what he did last year. Like
Yeah.
everyone's just been down. Kaprizov will not hit 40 goals this year. I don't think he does. I mean, Eric Sinek, great season, but I don't know. It's just been a down year for everybody. It's weird. Spurgeon out. I mean, when you lose your captain too for the whole season, that tends to get teams in the wrong way. But I don't know. I'm doing more focus on next year, really doing more research on these younger guys because I think that's the team that we're going to be looking forward to.
My statement on the veteran guys. You cannot tell me with a straight face. You cannot tell me with a straight face that what you are getting from Marcus Johansson and what you're getting from Freddie Gaudreau. You cannot tell me with a straight face that you couldn't get that at bare minimum from Murat. Like, these rookie players, we've seen it with every single one of them. Rossi, Faber, Declan Chisholm. They come in and they can give you some upside. They can give you some spark as opposed to just flatline performance night in and night out. And it's the thing that irks me the most is I know people say, well, Johansson's not really a shooter. Yeah, but when you have those opportunities, like I forget the team, I can't even remember the team that it was against, but he had the shot where he had nobody in front of him but the goalie. And instead of simply skating up and trying to make a play, he just stops and tries to force a pass to the left side of the net. And it ends up being turned over, and the Wild don't even get an opportunity. Like, I don't need to see that again. I would much rather see a young player come in
Adam
and
Beckman. That's been bothering me so much, how Freddie Gaudreau can just skate around for 13 minutes on the ice and be a -2, but Adam Beckman can't get one chance in the fourth line. And you're putting Gaudreau on the second line? You're putting Johansson on the second line? Like, I'm not going to go off on a little rant, but I don't understand. Like, it reminds me of like Alex Galchenyuk. I don't know why. Like, I get like the name gets you excited, but it doesn't work. So stop doing it.
yeah.
Like I like to say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. And they keep playing like I just knew it was an unserious team when Gaudreau and Johansson were on the second line. I was just blown away at that. I don't know.
It just, and that's going to go down as one of the like highlights for the bad reason for this season is the fact that when Adam Beckman got called up, Bill Guerin was quoted as saying, "This is his chance. This is his shot."
He didn't give him one chance.
Didn't play. He got sent back down. Then he got called up again, and then he got sent back down again. Like, you can't even make it up. You can't even make it up that there just is this, hey, this is an opportunity for Beckman to really take advantage, and he didn't even get into the lineup.
Yeah,
so, like,
I was on the show last April after the game, because the Minnesota Wild signed Freddie Gaudreau to the 5-year extension in the middle of a game. I forgot who they were playing, but it was in the middle of the game.
Nashville.
And yeah, it was Nashville, and it was the one, I think, when Ryan Hartman scored the winner with like 2 seconds left. But we were on right after that, and the vibes were high. We were a playoff team. We were still fighting for home ice. It was a good time to be a Wild fan. But seeing the tweet that it was a 5-year extension, I still looked at it and I was like, 5 years?
Yeah.
That's half a decade. Like, that's
I remember, and I have never had an issue with the $2.1 million AAV. Zero problem with that. Those contracts continue. Like, that's the going rate now for a fourth line guy. When I saw the 5 years, I was like, what now? So yeah,
I saw it too. Like, I was, again, last year I was vouching for Gaudreau. I loved him. Again, vibes were high, but still, like, when I saw it, I was like, this is wrong. Like, I could see 2-3 years at max. Like, I like 3 years still, I would have been like, 3 years is a little different, but a 5-year extension. When I don't know,
I want to throw this out there too, and then we're gonna kind of start to wrap up because we've been at this for an hour already. The Wild have done a good job of taking assets and turning them into tangible things, because I had it on screen before. Marat was part of the Luke Cunnin trade. So that is trading an asset and turning it into something that you can use. Now, obviously, we haven't seen Kuznetsov play yet, but the hope is that he becomes somebody that can, have a big impact for this team. Trading Jordan Greenway turned into Riley Height. That looks like that worked out pretty darn good. Kevin Fiala for Brock Faber and the first round pick that turned into Liam Ugrin. So there have been good examples of turning one thing into something else. And now we're going to finally start to get the opportunity to see if some of these guys are hits. It's the contracts that are the things that have not worked out.
There's a comment down there talking about trivia time with Adam Beckman and his only NHL point. I don't know, but I do know his only NHL goal that was called back against the Los Angeles Kings last year. That bummed me out. When he scored, I was like, "Oh, we got another one.
Like, let's
we
go."
got another one." And then it was called back, and then he went right back to the AHL. I haven't seen him since.
Unbelievable. I want to say his only NHL point is against the Anaheim Ducks. That's my guess, Adam, is that it is the Anaheim Ducks that are Adam Beckman's only career NHL point to this point. I haven't looked. I've got Tankathon up on one screen. I've got the NHL standings up on the other, and then I've got.
I'm gonna say St. Louis. That's my guess. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I feel like it'd be a Western Conference team. I don't know. I know he's played a little bit here and there, but yeah,
now I'm gonna need to take a peek.
Here's a question though. Oh, he said he assisted on the Hartman goal against the Penguins that tied the game. Oh, that was last fall when they tied it with like a second left.
Okay. A lot of stuff happening against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Do you think John Hines is the guy to lead this young team, or about to be young team, for the next 4 to 5 years?
That's a great question, because I have been of the mindset to just kind of give him the rest of the year. I'll say this about Hines. I think he does much better at the tactical stuff than Dean did, like much better. But we're seeing a lot of the same warts that Dean Evison had. Over-reliance on veterans. Marco Rossi has been playing with, and it happened again tonight. And I know that was because Johansson got hurt, that the line combinations were all just messed up, but we saw him go right back to Rossi with Lettieri and Lucchini. It just, I would much rather see this team go with somebody, and it's not as easy as just saying go get a John Cooper type. But you know what
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about, is somebody who's kind of an up and comer that rises with the team. Jared Bednar was in that situation with the Avalanche, and there were some years, the Avs had some years under Bednar that were not great, but they gave him time. They put a good team together for him to coach, and that's worked out considerably well. John Cooper has won at literally every single level of hockey. That's worked out considerably well too.
Yeah.
I think Mike is right on here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I like what Mike said. I think we'll definitely have Hines here just to like limp us towards that finish line, and then he'll. There's a good chance he's probably the scapegoat once that ends. But I think once that dead cap is up, it's going to be brand new team, super young team. We got all this money now. Sign a superstar or two, get a new young coach, change the whole trajectory of the team. I think Mike's spot on with that.
And this is something that you are going to point to when you look for that guy, is look at all these players and prospects we've got. Like we're going to see more of that next year than we did this year. We've seen some of it. We are going to see more next year because you're in the exact same position. And we have seen with this team that if anything goes wrong, that if anything goes wrong, even a little bit, it's not something that they're able to overcome. So that's about all I got, I think, for tonight. Don't forget our show tomorrow at noon, our live show. We'll be having more of a town hall feel to it. And so if you've got questions to bring in, make sure to bring them.
I like this last comment from Adam. Something we haven't really mentioned, but how is this team so bad at 6-on-5? Once upon a time, this team could probably play the entire game at 6-on-5 and win. A couple years ago, I know we had like it was like 12 or 13 empty net goals to tie a game in the season. That was insane. I don't know. The 6-on-5 problems, I always you got Patrick Waugh pulling the goalie in the second period, third period, 10 minutes left. But I think there's a strategy to 6-on-5 that when you got it, you got it. And when you don't, it's just one of the most hard things to find because you don't have a goalie. Like it is like you give up that last goal, it's game over. So I don't know, it's just a bunch of pressure in there. I'm not a hockey coach, so I really don't know how I would approach a 6-on-5 situation. But I don't know. I just that comment stood out to me just because I remember literally not too long ago, this team when you pulled the goalie, you knew that we were about to go to overtime. Like it was there was no hesitation. So I don't know. I think it's just and then back to the coaching thing real quick. I think Dean Evanson was a victim of a non-playoff team being held to the standard of a playoff team, because had Dean stayed the rest of the year, I think that we're still in the same exact scenario. Because I mean, I liked Dean as the head coach, but like you said, the heavy reliance on the vets to do what the young guys don't get the chance to do, like Hines putting Freddie and JoJo on the second line and leaving Rossi and Lettieri down on the third and fourth. Like that's something Dean would have done. So was there really a difference in the switch? I don't think so. I mean, when you change the head coach, yeah, the players are probably pretty motivated because you can't fire a coach. You can't change coaches twice in a season. So, but I just think Dean was on the short side of it. I still think he's a very good coach, and I really don't want him to go to a team in our division. But I just think
he's going to the Los Angeles Kings. I can about bet my life on that because Kevin Fiala's there, and
And then Freddie Gaudreau is going to go be a 30-goal scorer for the LA Kings next year.
You know what? They can have him. I am willing to take the chance that he doesn't. I'm willing to take the chance that he doesn't. So he can go to the Kings and he can be a third line center for them. Because guess what? That Los Angeles Kings team is going to make some changes too, because they are all over the place this season. All over the place. They were hideous.
Dean doesn't go to Chicago.
No, because I think Chicago likes Luke Richardson.
Yeah, they see something with that young core growing. I don't know.
I think it's either going to be the Los Angeles Kings or it's probably going to be like Ottawa, because that Ottawa team, it feels like kind of needs somebody that's more of a disciplinarian, because they can never figure it out. And so feels like that's a good fit for Dean too, is Ottawa, because they're looking for somebody to finally get them over the hump. They're just perpetually, like, I was listening to the Locked On Senators postcast last night. I actually hopped in there and was just hanging out, and lost to Arizona, who had lost how many games in a row?
14 in a row.
Oh, just hideous. And this is such a weird year in the NHL.
They said Gaudreau and cash for Bedard. Who says no? That's Gary Bettman says no. He doesn't let that happen.
Let's be honest here. If we are getting any return back for Jon Merrill, it's going to be Connor Bedard, because he is scorching hot. Has scored like
1 goal in 1 game. The last 1 game.
He's on pace. If he played at this pace for an entire 82 game season, he would score 82 goals.
82 goals.
I'm telling you, get Bedard over here.
Who?
Like, yeah. Well, another loss here, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. I will be at the XL Energy Center for tomorrow's game against the San Jose Sharks, or Minnesota West as we call them, because of all the different former Wild players that they have on their squad. So make sure to follow along with us. We'll have a postcast after the game as well. And make sure to hop back here at noon tomorrow for Locked On Wild Live. If you've got any questions that you'd like answered, bring them with, and we will guide you through what just has been a season. Like this, that's about all I can say, that this has been a season that the Minnesota Wild have had. So appreciate everybody hopping in here tonight. Make sure to hit the like button before you head out. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. And we'll be back with you tomorrow for more Locked On Wild content, keeping you up to date on everything Minnesota Wild related, with new episodes, with pregame, with postcasts, with live shows. We've got you covered. All part of the Locked On Podcast Network.